Hello and welcome back everyone to the Arizona Diamondbacks Intern franchise. My name is AZ Axel. I am the host here. If you haven't seen part 1, what are you doing here? Go back and watch it, man. But anywho, this is going to be part 2. We're going to go ahead and get all the way through the beginning and end of May, so we'll cover all of that ground. Before we begin, let's go ahead and recap what happened back in April. So your Arizona Diamondbacks ended up finishing 18-9. We had a very good month. We ended up routing a couple times against the Dodgers. We beat them. We beat the Padres a couple times. That was a lot of fun. And all around, it was a very good month for us. As you can see by the schedule here, we went on a bit of a tear for about, oh my gosh, was that 8 games straight that we won, and then lost 2 and won 3 more. So we only lost the Giants series, I believe, in the entire month. Yeah, we tied the Giants once and then lost to them once. And to be honest, that was mostly just because of Bumgarner, who is having a phenomenal spring so far. Bumgarner is looking kind of a lot like what Clayton Kershaw would be doing right about now. So unfortunately, that's kind of what happens with him. He kind of carries the Giants, to be honest. And no, he's not injured like he is in real life. So unfortunately, we do have to deal with him. But other than that, the Dodgers have begun to flail a little bit. They didn't do very well against us. Our pitching was staunch and really, really good. We have the third best pitching rotation at the moment, ERA-wise, and the third best bullpen. So our bullpen changes are doing really well. Brock and Otero are doing fantastic. Even Nuno himself is doing pretty good, having been called upon 9 different times. The offense is clicking. I'm still waiting to see the big, meaty part of the lineup, Lamb and Goldschmidt, get hot. So it can only get better, technically. This is what I expect from them, and then I expect more from Lamb and Goldschmidt. So again, we are the number 1 run-scoring team in the league, number 4 pitching team in, technically not the league, but the National League at this point. So we're going to cover through May, but I wanted to give you guys an idea of what's been happening the past couple of weeks. So we did have the Players of the Weeks and Players of the Month get announced. So, Guriel, Yulieski Gurriel, third baseman for the Houston Astros, was given Player of the Week. And for the National League, it was Eugenio Suarez with 6 home runs and a .356 batting average. In the end, the best hitter for the American League was, in fact, actually Gurriel. And the best hitter in the National League for the month was actually Freddie Freeman, who had 10 home runs and a .341 batting average. Severino was the best pitcher for the American League. He had a 1.99 ERA and a 4-1 record. For the National League, it was actually Teheran, not Bumgarner, which is kind of surprising. I thought that Bumgarner would have had that in the bag, but a 5-0 record and a 1.95 ERA was good enough for him. Of course, Gurriel racking up all the stuff right now because he's batting .342 with 10 home runs. He's also Rookie of the Month. For the National League, it was Dansby Swanson. So I'm guessing that the Atlanta Braves, 5th on the power rankings. They must be doing gosh darn well. 15-9. So they are clicking really, really well. And that's even with injuries on top of that. So they're having good performances from all their pitching staffs right now. I expect that to change, to be honest. I don't expect them to have the number 1 starters by the end of the season. But for right now, the new stadium, all the hype that goes into that, probably carrying over to a lot of what makes them a good ball club right now. They also have Albies in the majors. I'm kind of surprised about that. I feel like that's a bit too soon for a guy who's, I guess he's pretty close to being ready, but look at these. That's not, it's mostly just the fielding and the speed that's ready to go. None of the hitting is ready to go, so don't know about that. Don't know if I can say a whole lot about that. I wonder when we play against the Atlanta Braves. I'm pretty sure we get to play them, is it in June? No, it's July. Yeah, we get to play them twice in July. So let's see if by July, Atlanta is still as good as they are right now. So remember that, folks. By July, is Atlanta still first in the National League East? So our assumption is that we're not going to make any changes. We've been looking into some rookies on the free agency list just to sign some minor league depth so that way we don't run out of our minor leagues. As you can see, AA and AAA are doing pretty well. They're actually both in first place right now. But A+ and A-ball not looking so good. So we kind of need some back-end depth just to be able to make sure we don't how we don't become susceptible to injuries and other stuff. I already know for a fact that Cody A. Reed is out for 3 months with a ruptured tendon in his finger, so that'll hurt our A system, the Cougars. That'll be rough for them. And then you just have some people still technically in rookie ball in other places, so still hoping and praying that some of these guys can become the next big thing for us. Wow, suspended for 50 games. Lovely. Thank you for taking steroids, guys. That's a general manager's nightmare when suddenly their star rookie prospect is caught taking steroids and it looks bad all around. So yeah, we finally have some fan interest. It looks like our fans are starting to show up, so we actually have a whole lot of money suddenly. We're looking at a projected income of almost $17 million, which would be nice because we have a lot of people that we kind of would like to continue to sign and continue on to next year. If you look at the salaries, we do have to worry a little bit about people like Pollock. He's going into arbitration this year. He's expected to get around $12 million. You've got Shelby Miller also heading into arbitration this year. Corbin's in arbitration. Owens, Walker. A lot of people are in arbitration. So they're in control. We'll still keep them. But you talk about a $20 to $40 million jump from this year, and we're definitely not going to keep Fernando Rodney because he's asking for like $12 million off whatever extension or re-signing that he wants to do. So most likely than not, he's going away. But we also, unfortunately, do have to accept the fact that arbitration for Nuno and Brock are eligible or are inevitable as well. So there's a lot of things that we have to worry about and have to take into consideration. So with that being said, I think we're ready to go ahead and continue. Our schedule for the month of May looks very interesting. We have to play against the Washington Nationals and the Colorado Rockies, 2 tough series. Hopefully nothing bad happens during that series. I need my guys healthy. Then we've got Detroit and Pittsburgh. Those are pretty easy. We should be able to win most of those series. The Mets, I would say we win those series as well. Our pitching is top-notch. It should be able to keep their offense down. Then we play in San Diego again. We should be able to defeat them. The White Sox, they're a poor team. Should be able to defeat them. Milwaukee, same deal. If their offense is neutralized, they're helpless. We should be able to have a really good month. This should be us winning almost every single series except for maybe the Washington series, and the Colorado might give us a run for our money in Colorado. But otherwise, I don't really see any series that we shouldn't be able to win right off the bat. So I'll go ahead and do the simulation, guys, let you know how it goes, what happened, and we'll pick it back up at the end of the month. All right, so we've gotten through all of May, and as you can see from the transition, which was super awesome, we had another very good month. Now, to be honest, I don't feel like it was this good. Looking at the results, there are some really good moments to talk about, and we will touch base on all of those. But to be honest, a lot of it was like pulling teeth. It felt like as if the team was struggling, and it showed some signs of, just cracks in the armor is the phrase I want to use for that. We could see some moments where like, okay, that was bad, and that was bad, and if that goes bad, that could lead to more problems down the road. So right off the bat, we ended up going up against Washington. That was the 3-game series against them at home. We won 2 of 3. We got blown out in the second game, and we had good pitching otherwise, and we just couldn't get enough offense in that second game and good enough pitching to go along with it. We went over to Colorado for our second time against them, and we won 2 out of 3. We did really good, in my opinion. For the Rockies offense and everything, they are third in the West right now, 30-25. So to be honest, I'm okay with winning 2 out of 3. They are a good team. They've got an amazing offense. They're very tough to beat, and we did a good job. We did a good job cooling off their bats in games 2, and then we outslugged them in game 3. So we showed multiple strengths and multiple areas of good ball playing. We came home to play against Detroit, and unfortunately, we only won 1 of those games. Detroit's actually had a pretty good season so far this year. They are actually second at 28-26, so their offense has been quite good. And they beat us on the first day, but we came back and won them on the second day. We stayed home to play against Pittsburgh, and that was when I started thinking, okay, we have to win these games. We won the first 3. Pretty single-handedly, was doing pretty well, and then we ran into another little glitch in the matrix. We had another blown save-ish from Fernando Rodney. Technically it wasn't a blown save, but they brought Rodney in to pitch the 9th inning with us down a run. I guess it was to prevent more runs given up, but Rodney doesn't do a good job with, us being down or the idea that he has to not give up any runs, period, because he traditionally will give up at least one. So he gave up 2 that game, and that was the first time we ever used Brandon Shipley, I believe, actually. So this leads us into the next part. So the reason why I felt like it was pulling teeth out is because, holy cow, look at the injuries list. So Taijuan Walker went down with a rotator cuff strain. Thankfully, it wasn't a tear, but it was a strain. That was after his Pittsburgh game where he won in 6 innings and only had 1 hit against him. He was doing really gosh darn well. He's been one of our best pitchers so far this season. So he was out, and it was given a 3-week timetable, or a what's it called? Yeah, a timetable to be able to return. And so we were like, all right, well, Godley's not doing good in AAA, our other pitching prospect, because Godley is currently, I mean, you go to AAA, and he is currently sporting a 6.34 ERA. That's even after him having some really good days in his past 5 days. He used to have it up around 8. So we were like, well, he's not coming up to pitch for us because he's terrible. So we saw Shipley with his 5-1 record and a 1.64 ERA, and we're like, all right, we'll take a chance on you because at least you're doing well. So he came in, and even though he took the loss in his first game, he had 7 innings pitched, and he did a good job at preventing, our bullpen from getting tired. And that is kind of the run of the show, is just how much our bullpen has to be used and how much it doesn't have to be used. So we were like, all right, well, we kind of didn't expect to win that game anyways. I was our rookie pitcher, and we just kind of blew it because we couldn't get enough runs off of Pittsburgh anyways. And, when you have 11 hits but only 5 runs, and you have 23 people seen on base by your entire team, and 7 of them, left on base, but those 7 people, were seen by so many that there was 23 men on base, seen by all the hitters combined. That is terrible. Now, granted, that's 4 for the pitcher's spot, but that means that Mathis, couldn't drive anyone in. 3 times he saw people left on base. Goldschmidt had 4 people left on base during his at-bats. Owings had 3. Owings really started to tank during this month, and we'll cover that a bit later because he ends up having another problem later on down the road that thankfully just got fixed. Oh, this was also, I think, the same day so this was the same day. So not only did Shipley replace Walker on this day, but as you saw, Marte went down with a torn rotator cuff on this day. So that was a bummer of a day. Pittsburgh really just took it to us, unfortunately, on this day. Not only did we not win with our rookie for the first time, even throwing 7 innings, but they took down our star shortstop, basically, who was batting .283 at that point. He was still flirting with .300. He was driving people in. He was getting on base. He was doing a great job at shortstop. And that was a huge blow. That was kind of like, wow, okay, that's not cool. We kind of planned to have Owings and Marte be our only second base shortstop people. So, I mean, sure, I had planned around the idea that maybe an injury could hit our middle infield, but we just got rid of Ahmed because we were under the impression that we wouldn't need another shortstop second base prospect sitting in AAA waiting to be used. So, Marte's gone for the season. Ouch. Walker's on the DL right now. Double ouch. Did we perform poorly? You bet we did for a little while. So the direction that we went from there, and the one that I'm going to explain now, is that basically Owings has moved from short to second. And Descalso and Drury, Owings has been moved from second to short. My apologies. Owings is now playing short full time, which he's technically done for most of his career. So it was interesting to say that the second baseman, no, you're going back over to short, continue to play well, but, that's what happened, basically. And we moved Drury to second base, and it was just in time, because as you can see, Drury has totally caught on fire. Drury had just been starting to hit well when we decided to go ahead and move him into the starting position. So that was right about here. So he had just gotten up to about 313. He was batting .250. No. He had just gotten out of the Pittsburgh Pirates series, was batting .306, and we realized, oh, well, you're gonna be starting now. Can you continue to bat .300? Boom, 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 boom. He's done very, very well. Sorry, don't want to do a lot of noise expressions like that, but just had to. He's done very, very well in second base. He's taken over the position quite wonderfully, and I am very happy with him. He's not hitting a lot of homers or doubles, so the slugging percentage is only around 530, which isn't too bad. But the batting average up around 346 is amazing, and everything we could have asked for he has done, which gave us the option to, because Ahmed got traded and because Marte is gone, do we bring up someone from AAA? We have a lot, actually, of shortstop and second base prospects. I mean, you talk about Vargas, Leyba, Chisholm, Lugo, Westbrook. We even have technically Jack Reinheimer, who was hitting 305 in AA and has then since moved to the AAA. But instead, we settled on Vargas. Vargas had been hitting 304 in AAA for 18 games started. He was technically starting at second base in AAA. And we were like, well, we'll bring him up because technically he's got good speed, he's a decent fielder, and he's got really good avoid Ks, which means that if we bring him off the bench to pinch hit, he's not going to, just turn around and strike out at least. So we brought him up. And he played off and on. He was mostly a defensive substitution. He comes into play second base whenever we have a ninth inning pretty much. He's played second base, third base, and that was about the time that we realized that Daniel Descalso is not good, guys. I know it's a news flash for some people, but for most people it's not. But Daniel Descalso is having a terrible season with us, and that's going to be talked about in the future. What our plans are for the next month, what we plan on doing before we continue on with the simulation next time, is going to be talked about in that regards. But going back to the schedule, that led us into a situation where we were a little bit tired because we were using a fifth starter. Our bullpen was a little bit used up from the last game, and unfortunately the Mets just came in and their rookie pitcher, Wilk, I had never even heard of this guy, literally came up from AAA, pitched a game against us, and pitched a wonderful game against us. 7 innings, 1 earned run. We had 8 hits. Again, 14 people left on base from the team, 9 left on base by the team in general, and we just couldn't get runs in. And it wasted not a great outing from Corbin, but, still, something that we should have done a better job of, bashing a rookie pitcher like that. That has to happen. Second game, Zach Greinke did fine. We won the game, no problemo. Chafin, Brock continued to do amazing. Our bullpen is astounding. And then Miller happens again. Miller is such a two-sided coin, and he still continues to amaze me how he can go from, 5.1 innings, a loss, 5 runs given up, to 6 innings, 1 run given up, a win. 3 innings, 7 runs given up, a loss to the Mets. And then the White Sox, 9 innings, a complete game shutout. Where does this guy get? I mean, he must wake up on the wrong side of the bed every single other pitching outing. He wakes up and he's like, oh man, I got up on the wrong side. I'm going to lose today. And he just goes out and loses. And it's like, why? So, anywho, we started to see some longer innings from our people, and that wasn't very good. And this was also the day that Dan Otero went down with acute elbow soreness. So the guy that we had picked up and was doing really, really well for us, even though the whip was a bit high, but the strikeouts were good, the control was having some problems, but, people were just batting better against him than I expected to. But he was doing decently for us, and I really liked him, and he went down with an injury. So I was like, oh boy. Now that means we have to get more relief. So we brought up some interesting people. We decided that we wanted to bring up, who was it? It wasn't even McFarland. I think it was somebody else. So we sent, who was it? So we had to send him to the DL. And we brought up Paco Rodriguez. That's who it was. So we brought up Paco from AAA because he was having 15 games. He had 20 innings, and he only had a 1.35 ERA, so you're like, oh, well, he's doing well. The one free agent pickup that we picked up and put AAA has been doing amazing. Sure, let's give him a try. He comes in, and he instantly does 2 different games against Milwaukee on the 28th, 27th, and 26th. So after the, hold on, let me go back to May. So yeah, against New York Mets, I guess he didn't pitch at all for a week, actually. I'm sorry. We didn't need him, though, because we went up against San Diego. So after the Mets series, we had a day off, recovered, regrouped, looked at our next 2 series and realized we should sweep both of these next 2 series. In fact, the next 3 series, in fact, the next 4 series, we should win every single one. The San Diego Padres are not that good. The White Sox are the worst team in baseball. Milwaukee's dead last in the Central, and Pittsburgh's having a rough time. We swept San Diego easily. Not a problem. Gave a little bit too much runs in some of those games, but I was okay with it. We shut out the White Sox every single game, and that included a 8-inning performance from Greinke, 1 inning for Chafin, great boost for the bullpen, and then, of course, Shelby Miller's 9-inning complete game shutout against the White Sox. And then we had Robbie Ray come in and do an 8-inning shutout performance, with Fernando Rodney coming in to pitch the 9th against a no-save situation. Yeah, that's a bit of a trend too, unfortunately. So we were like, all right, now we're going to go over to Milwaukee. We're a little tired. We're still having to use Shipley. And then Shipley comes up and does a 6.1-inning shutout performance. And we're like, wow, okay, well, that means that the next outing's going to be, what, Greinke? That should be a win. No, it's Corbin, and it's still a loss. And look at that, another blown save. Yeah. A walk-off triple for Bandy. Should have won this game, guys. Although, then again, you look at it, and Davies throws the complete game, 4 hit, 1 run. I mean, that's just poor offense there, guys. Come on. Vargas, again, continued coming in to do defensive support. Owings began to kind of trail off a little bit. He started to have some problems. Owings began to kind of show cracks and just a lack of performance. That was actually his last game, or one of his last games. Sorry, he played the next game, technically. So this is the next part of our whole entire discussion. This game, Greinke did everything. He hit his own home run. He pitched 7 innings. Brock had a bit of a rough 8th inning, but we came up and did a good job. Paco pitched in all 3 of these games, I believe, and he did an amazing job, or at least he pitched in this game, the one before, and the one afterwards. Bradley got the save because, of course, we used Fernando Rodney yesterday instead of today. Don't ask me why. But unfortunately, Chris Owings was injured running the bases, and he ended up going down with a sore hamstring for 5 days. Wait, really? Who's playing short then? I mean, that was my first reaction was, oh my gosh, we lose Marte, we lose Owings, which means we're going to have Drury at second. And who are we going to throw it short? Vargas? The game wanted to use Descalso. You can probably understand that I was absolutely not going to have any of that. So we used Vargas. Vargas ended up starting 4 games at shortstop. And you can see the results. 1 for 4, 1 for 4 of a double, 3 for 5, and 1 for 4. He did marvelously. He even had 2 stolen bases during that time. He was susceptible to errors. I believe he had 2 errors during the course of his time playing shortstop, but he is technically a default second baseman. As you can see, his second base would be Gold Glove, but his shortstop's a little stingy, so that's the reason why he's not as good of a fielder, but he did an amazing job for us, and it shows in the schedule because we turned around and we lost the last game against Milwaukee, regretfully. That was one where Delgado blew it for us, and that was actually a deciding factor for Delgado. The 5.28 ERA, I had enough. So I actually made a decision. We have officially designated for assignment Delgado. He's done. So we went ahead and made that transaction as well, and I'll go back and look at this one. So we were like, okay, that's enough. We're done with Delgado. Delgado is finished. So we designated for assignment Delgado. Where did I do that? Hold on, I want to make sure I do this correctly now. So, yes, we placed Delgado on designated for assignment. Unfortunately, Paco went on the 10-day disabled list with back tightness, which was actually quite severe, so we couldn't do that. We went ahead and placed TJ McFarland on the 40-man roster in preparation for bringing him up, and we actually did. We brought him up, and he ended up pitching 2 games for us. He pitched an inning's worth. That was in the Pittsburgh series, which we'll talk about next. And we also brought up Jared Miller, which has been something we've thought about for a while now. So basically what happened was he was doing this in his 22 outings for single A plus and double A. He had not given up a run. He had given up a run, but it was unearned because it wasn't actually for him, even though he got the loss for it. But he'd had 14 saves, and we were like, no, dude, you're coming up here to pitch for us for a little while. You're going to recover for Delgado and Paco for a little while. So he came up and pitched in one game. He ended up going 2 innings against Pittsburgh in our blowout win, and he did decently, in my opinion. He gave up a run, but he had 2 strikeouts, and he had 3 hits given up, and he did a good enough job that, unfortunately, we demoted him. And the reason why, and I'll tell you why in a second here, is because you may have been noticing, if you're paying attention, that we had been using our relief a lot. 1, 2, 3, 4 relief pitchers used there. Our 1-2 game, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 relief pitchers used there. Delgado had been, demoted at that point. He was designated for assignment. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pitchers used. So we came into the first game against Pittsburgh and we were like, we have nobody ready to pitch today. Literally no one is available. There was literally no one available. And in the end, Robbie Ray went down with an injury. So everyone got to pitch on short days rest, including Miller, Nuno, and pretty much everybody, including McFarland. So unfortunately, everyone was tired for the next game because everyone was tired this game. So yeah, we won the game 9-3, but Ray went down with an injury. He's still down with that injury. It's a shoulder tendonitis. He has 3 more days left before he's back. We have someone to fill his start. I'll talk about that in a second as well. But yeah, that was a bad time for us, having to figure out, okay, it's not so much who's starting, it's who's going to be coming in for relief tomorrow, because everyone is tired. So I actually demoted Miller the day before. I demoted him out of AAA. I brought up J.J. Hoover, and I was like, okay, Lovello, you have 1 relief pitcher for today. Literally 1 relief pitcher against the Pirates. What are you going to do? Well, what's he going to do? He's going to have Shipley go 8 innings and only give up 3 runs and only pitch 100 pitches, and Hoover comes in and gets the save. What did you think was going to happen? Come on. This is the Dbacks. We win every game. Well, I probably shouldn't say that, technically. Either way, we won. It was perfect. It was brilliant. A brilliant outing from Braden Shipley. He did a great job. Vargas had 2 stolen bases in this game. That was his best performance. He went 3 for 5. Goldschmidt had a triple. We knocked around Nova out in the 5th inning, I believe. He did terrible. Now, here's the problem. We had 16 hits. 16 hits. We left 11 people on base. We only scored 5 runs. We had 3 errors this game. It was terrible. It was one of those games where I looked back on it and I was like, that was really good, except for the 16 hits and only 5 runs. And what the heck was with the 3 errors? So, it was rough. It was rough. And then the last game of the series, we finally had all of our bullpen around ready to go. Corbin had a terrible game. It was not a good outing for him, but the bullpen backed him up, and our hitting backed him up as well. Peralta had a 2-home run game off of Cole and Schugel, and we won the game 7-6. We scored all of our runs in the 3rd through the 5th inning, and the bullpen came in, and I was sweating bullets from the 5th all the way to the 9th. I was literally just watching the screen going, we're so going to lose this, we're so going to lose this, we're so going to lose this, and we were fine. We were fine. Rodney had his 14th save. I still don't consider him that good. He still continues to baffle me. He still does stuff like this where it's just kind of like, what on earth is wrong with you? We've used him twice in non-save situations. I don't know why. Maybe because we just need to use him or something. I get Lovello's positioning on that. But at the same time, we survived the month. That's all I can say. We have 2 starters currently down. Walker is down permanently for 2 weeks. Robbie Ray has 3 days left before he's back. He pitches tomorrow. So here's the plan. The plan is to call up, officially, Godley for one start. And you might be thinking, wait, Godley has like the 6.34 ERA. Why'd you bring him up? Here's why. He's been player of the game for the last 2 outings. He is getting hot. We need to go ahead and give him a shot. He's also really, really upset because he wants to be in the majors, and this will actually make him happy. If he does well enough, I may think about dropping down one of our relief pitchers from the majors down to AAA. Most likely it would be McFarland or potentially Hoover. Most likely Hoover has to go down to begin with because I have to call up Godley and send down somebody, which is going to be Hoover at this point because he's tired and I don't want to have him tiring up my bullpen right now. The bullpen is a little bit in tatters because we've been using people so much, but Brock, Bradley, and McFarland are ready to go for the first game of this Miami Marlins series, and Zach Greinke is our starter for the next month. So that'll be where we begin June. So let's, I guess, recap everything else about the league, because now we've talked about how the Dbacks have done. Let's talk about how the rest of the league has done. So, actually, that's the wrong news place. Hold on. There we go. Cody Bellinger is off to a bit of a hot start, unfortunately. Fernando Rodney said he wanted to be extended. I do not have any plans to be able to do that. Milwaukee wanted to trade for Goldschmidt by giving us Jimmy Nelson. I laughed in their face and declined. Thames had a 3-run homer day, which was very impressive. Not against me, thank goodness. Feldman hurled a shutout against the Indians after the Indians had thrown a shutout against the Reds the day before, and then was out for 13 months with a torn flexor tendon, which is great news for the Reds. King's been delayed on his injury. Nolan Arenado continues to rake. The All-Star voting has finally started. Goldschmidt's third in the first base position, and the only other person we have is Pollock leading at center field, and for good reason, too. So, unfortunately, we have no pitchers, which is kind of embarrassing, but, maybe we'll get someone later. I don't know. So, yeah, that's been interesting. Segura has been really good this save. He has 7 home runs and a .354 batting average. He's doing amazing. We've had a lot of trade proposals. In fact, Oakland wanted to trade a Sonny Gray for Robbie Ray 1-for-1, which I kind of laughed at a little bit, looked at it, and then laughed some more, because even though he's really, really good, I can't give up Robbie Ray for him. When Robbie Ray has a good outing, that's the kind of results he'll get you. And when all is said and done, Robbie Ray should finish the season probably with a sub-3 ERA. And Gray, even though he started off the season really, really well, he could probably finish the season with a +3 ERA. And that's pretty much continual support for him. And even though I've been trying to get trades, even after the Walker injury, I've been trying to see what's available and what's optional. When Rodney has problems, I always look for a new closer. I've asked about Diaz from Seattle. I've asked about Neris from the Phillies. The Phillies actually wanted to trade me Neris, their closer, directly for Drury, which was kind of interesting. I didn't think Drury was that good, but I guess his ratings are probably going to go up the next time we have an OSA scout go through, because technically he's batting 346. He's doing amazing. Peralta too, 323. So I guess both of them are considered like the best players we have to offer right now, considering that Lamb and Goldschmidt are both batting 240. 240? Why? So there's still some issues to be had with the team. We are debating about what to do with Descalso. That is the one thing that I want to do something about, as well as Herman. Herman has been officially given the outfield position of left field as his designated assignment, but, technically he's still struggling because he wants to start. He really wants to start, and I don't see him starting, period. So Herman and Descalso may actually be leaving the team very, very soon, especially if Vargas continues to do so well. I don't really see why I would keep Descalso when I've got Vargas, I know he hasn't had a whole lot of at-bats, but he's half as many at-bats as Descalso, and he's doing much better. So there's a very high chance that I'll be getting rid of Descalso and replacing him with Vargas and potentially someone from AAA. I need to do something with Christian Walker. Mr. Walker has 10 home runs and is batting .345 in AAA. He has a 1.8 WAR and 32 walks. I either need to trade him or he needs to get called up and played because he is amazing. In fact, speaking of which, AAA has been having an interesting season so far. I need to show you guys this other player who's been doing interesting. Carlos Rivera. Don't even look at his ratings or his statistics yet. Look at these ratings. He's not good, is he? No, he's not. Now look at his statistics. He's batting freaking .408. He's got 10 home runs in 32 games started, 51 hits, 8 doubles, 1 triple, and a stolen base. He's out right now with plantar fasciitis, which is exactly what Corey Dickerson has. It's a foot condition. He's out for 4 to 5 weeks. It's going to hurt him a lot, unfortunately. And holy cow, I almost called this guy up before he got injured because I don't know. It's weird. Our OSA and head scout think they don't even think he's that good. OSA thinks he's worse, but our head scout's like, nah, he's a little bit better. A little bit better? This is like ridiculously better. I mean, good grief. If we had a review of this guy and he goes up to like a 50 overall player, I would not be surprised because this kind of a season from this kind of a player is unheard of. I have never seen this. So just to let you guys know, that's not me. It's not because I changed him. That is definitely the game having fun with one of my players. Aww. One of the guys who signed off free agency, who actually is in AAA and was doing very well, has a sprained elbow. Phooey. We've actually done a lot of signings and getting players to build up depth in AAA, and for good reason. We've had some injuries, and we kind of have needed them. So just to recap and give you guys an overview of our entire system, currently our AAA is first place. We have a 30 wins, 23 losses. No, wait, we're second place. Sorry, second place, a game behind first place. They have a 566 winning percentage. AA is currently first, though, by probably a good margin. They have 33 wins and 18 losses. A+, our advanced A, is currently in second place. They're under 500, which is weird because our single A team is over 500 but is fourth. So, not sure about that. But either way, our rookie system is actually doing really well, and I've been very, very surprised. I kind of expected most of them to just kind of flail and not perform well, but they've all been doing decently. Duplantier has had a very decent year. He's had a couple of starts now, 2 to be exact, and he's looking good. I mean, he is our number 1 rated prospect, so no, duh, he should be good. Bond has had a rough year. He did not do well in AA, which is interesting because he has since then been called up to AAA by the computer because I just have them manage the minors in my stead, and he's going to start in AAA. So he's had 2 back-to-back good starts. He has shown sparks of greatness, and he's had, maybe 1 or 2 bad outings that have raised his ERA more than it should have. So maybe he's okay, and I'm just freaking out, but, we'll see about that. Cody Reed is still out with a ruptured tendon in his finger. He'll be back later. But, Vargas has done very well. Clark's been okay down in Visalia and even in Jackson and AA, so good for him. Taylor's been good down in the same positions, so they pair up together most of the time. Clark and Taylor are kind of buddy-buddy. And then, of course, you got Christian Walker with a .345 batting average. I mean, our rookie system is actually performing quite well. The entire organization is doing really gosh darn well. I'm kind of flabbergasted. I kind of expected there to be a whole lot more resistance and, negative feedback from the organization and the players in it and a lot of, problems and issues to cover, but this has been quite smooth. The pitching staff is amazing. And, to be honest, it isn't that hard to kind of see it be that way in real life. Robbie Ray hasn't even had a really good season. He's been injured so much. But Greinke, that's like what he's doing right now in the real life. And Miller is injured for full time, so technically that's one thing that's not correct. But Corbin with a 3.92 ERA, that's actually pretty good. He's been better. I mean, granted, he used to have like a 1.9 something ERA with 5 wins. And now he has a 6-3 record, and he's a 3.92 ERA. So he is getting worse, which is to be expected when you have a ground ball pitcher like him and he doesn't get ground balls. So it's not that hard to realize or to visualize that it actually would work that way. I think the biggest surprise has actually been Shipley. He's had 4 starts with us in the big leagues, and he has just been the picturesque person of consistency. And he's been such a breath of fresh air for the organization. And I guess in the end, the other big thing I would say has been the best improvement has been people like Hicks and Mathis and Drury and Peralta and Vargas just being the best that they can be right now. And I think Hicks, you're going to hear it now, Hicks may have been the best trade I have ever pulled off in OOTP. Ever. Now, that includes a deal in which last year, or I think it was actually a year and a half ago, I traded away Mike Morin from the Angels for James Shield, who then turned around and did almost complete games for the rest of the season, okay? But he still, gave up like 4 runs each game, but he gave the Angels a chance to win. That was one of my highlight trades of all time. This may top it, and here's why. This guy is not considered that good, okay? However, he's batting .306. He has 3 home runs. He has 6 triples and 9 doubles, 17 RBIs. He's doing amazing. He has a 1.6 WAR right now. They're projecting him to finish with a 4.7 WAR. He's hitting career high numbers on almost everything. And he's going to have an additional probably 170 at-bats over last year and 150 over the year before. He's going to be almost doubling his hits from... Well, he'll be doubling his hits from last year with only 170 extra at-bats. So he is just going off officially. And I am super glad that we traded away Chris Iannetta for him, because Chris Iannetta has been terrible for New York. Let's just say we won this trade by far. But yeah, Drury's gotten hot at the perfect time, right when I wanted him to, so he could start and stay hot. Peralta has continued to flirt with high 300 batting averages. He goes up and down technically, but he's on pace to hit 27 home runs and have 53 doubles at this point, a 7.5 WAR for him. They're picking up slack, and our 2 best hitters, Goldschmidt, Lamb, and even Chris Owings, are all hitting like 250. So we're having terrible performances from our best hitters, and everyone else is picking up the slack and just making us a winner. And it's been amazing. Even Yan Gomes raises his batting average up to 273. Arcia raised his up to 263. Herman and Descalso, Lamb, Goldschmidt, and Owings, changes will be made, folks. Let me tell you that. Jake Lamb was almost traded away for... No, he wasn't almost traded away. The Pirates offered Nova for him, and I, again, laughed in their face and then declined. But if Lamb can't get started, if he can't start to get, his batting average up and his power up, I will dump him, okay? That is a threat. I will get rid of him because he cannot hit lefties, period, okay? His splits, he's batting .098 against lefties and a .285 against righties, okay? He does not hit lefties well, period, just so you know. If he doesn't get it started and he doesn't get his batting average up, he doesn't get his power up, I will trade him. Okay? That is a clear threat to Mr. Jake Lamb. I will trade... Just kidding. He's not actually going to listen to this. But, yeah, I will be thinking about moves that involve potentially picking up an ace pitcher and maybe giving him away, because you know what? I've got Drury who can play third base if we need to. I've got, people in AAA who can play third base better than him right now. Technically, Vargas can play third base, even though he doesn't have the arm really to be able to play third base. He could play third base, and I wouldn't feel bad about that, to be honest. I'd be okay with that. But I've got people like Denker here, who's batting .330 in AAA. Not that I would consider that to be a good example of who should be playing third base. 6 home runs, 3 triples, 5 doubles, .330. His stats don't really show it. But, to an extent, if Jake Lamb can't hit well and someone else can come up from AAA and hit better, Jack Reinheimer's, not doing good in AAA, but he hit really good in AA. If he continues to raise that batting average up, I will play someone else. Okay? Clear-cut threat. I will play someone else if we can't get the production we need from our number 4 hitter. There will be changes. We will make changes. All right, let's review one more thing before we end this video, and that's going to be the standings. Because you guys probably want to know how some of your favorite players are doing. So, again, Segura is doing the best in the American League. Freddie Freeman continues to just be the best player in the National League. He is number 1 on the batting average list. Grandal's doing well for the Dodgers, but the Dodgers are actually 4th place in the National League West. The Rockies continue to try to gain ground on the Giants, who have Madison Bumgarner just pitching out of his mind. He will drive that team to a playoff contention. I promise you that much. We are still 1st place. In fact, we are continuing to gain ground away from the Giants in 1st place. So we are sitting very nice and pretty at the top of the National League West. I'm still waiting for our eventual demise to happen, because right now we're kind of running on a team chemistry high, and sooner or later we're going to have some cold streaks start to happen, and we'll have to test our team more than we've had so far this season, because we've had a couple tests, but we've kind of managed to run through them pretty easily. So still waiting for the real first test of the season to come through. Probably going to be happening back, we don't really get a whole lot of challenge until July, technically. July and then August are supposed to be really, really hard for us. So we'll see how that goes. The Cubbies are 1st in the National League Central. They actually have had a pretty good month so far. They actually spaced away from the Reds, who were 2nd for a while. Milwaukee continues to baffle me. They have good stuff, but they're hitting. Actually, I know why. If you go to their team, they say they don't have a good team leader, and their chemistry is terrible, so that's why. Otherwise, the Mets continue to have problems. They've had injuries to Syndergaard and a couple other people. They're not performing well. They don't have anyone on the pitchers list right now, and they are 4th place. The Atlanta Braves were 1st for a very long time, until recently the Nationals took over 1st place. So Atlanta and Washington are both very, very good teams. I expect to see them both probably in the playoffs. I'm hoping the Rockies can make it to the playoffs with us, because I like their offense, but their pitching staff is pretty poor in this game, so it's just hard to have a good pitching staff in Denver, so I highly doubt they'll be joining us in the end. The Mariners have had an amazing year. The Angels have had an even better year, though, to be honest. They are proving everyone wrong. Cameron Maybin, I think he's actually injured right now. Let me double check. No, I think he was... Oh, no, he just had a hitting streak that got canceled. 20-game hitting streak for Cameron Maybin. The Angels' offense has been amazing. Their pitching staff, not so much, but their hitting staff has been quite good, and they are actually 2nd place. They've actually, both of those two teams, the Mariners and the Angels, have kept the Astros away from just running away with the West. And then Texas has been doing pretty well, and the Oakland A's have done very well. So the West in the American League is really, really tough. Tougher than the National League West. So hats off to all the teams over there. That's going to be a fun one. The Indians have suffered. The Indians have had a terrible season so far. The Royals and Tigers currently hold 1st place. My money is on the Royals. The Tigers were doing pretty good so far, but they've started to show some cracks in the armor. I think it's because of their pitching staff. They have a really good closer in Justin Wilson, but not sure if that'll save them. Baltimore currently holds the lead in the American League East, mostly because of their, I think it's their hitting still. Yeah, it's still technically their hitting. They've got a good bullpen, technically. We got Brad Brock from them, and it shows. They have a good bullpen, so they're pretty good. Tampa Bay is right behind them, 2 games out at this point, and Boston has actually resurged. They were dead last when I looked at the beginning of May. They were pretty low on the list, so they've come back out of nowhere. So hopefully Boston continues to resurge. That'll make the American League East pretty exciting. Other people to look at around the league, Joey Gallo. Keep Joey Gallo in mind. He has 19 home runs, folks. Him and Moustakas are having a home run battle in the American League. He is projected to have 57 home runs this year. If Texas starts to derail, we might sign this kid or trade for this kid. Just warning you now. If we have an option to grab Joey Gallo, I will grab him, okay? Because if the Texas Rangers start to flail and they go down to last place, if Oakland or Texas have problems, I'm looking for trades. I am. I'll be looking for more trades throughout the entire season just to see if I can grab somebody at a cheap, discounted price and slot them into that number 4 spot. I was hoping it could be JD Martinez, like in real life, just like the Dbacks did it, but they're doing much better than I was expecting to, so the Tigers are kind of a no-no right now. Not possible to get him at this point. Plus, he's not really actually doing that well, so might hold off on getting him for a little while. Either way, guys, that's actually going to be it for this episode. That was the month of May. We're doing really well, and hopefully our June continues to look good and we get some good people on the All-Star game. On the 6th of June, actually, is the draft. So we're going to have a special episode next time that's just going to cover the first couple of days and then the first-year player draft. I actually have a huge list. I shouldn't have said that, but I do have a list of people that we have looked at and we want to draft. So this is our list. This is our Dbacks list of players that we are okay with drafting. That's just not all of them. That's all of them, technically. And we only have a few pitchers on the list, technically, because it's hard to have scouts do a good favor on pitchers. But these are all the pitchers that our head scout, who's supposedly really good, likes. It does include, of course, Hunter Green. Everyone likes Hunter Green. But we have Benito Santiago Jr. on the list. We also have Luis Gonzalez. This is actually Luis Gonzalez Jr. This is Luis Gonzalez's son. Yes, that Luis Gonzalez. So there is a very high chance we will be signing Luis Gonzalez Jr. We are in love, however, with Jaron Kendall. Jaron Kendall is actually the son of Jason Kendall. So again, I love sons of former baseball players. I'm sorry, it's a weak spot for me. But this kid is easy to sign. He's out of college, and OSA hates him, and our head scout loves him. So there's a very high chance we will be signing him probably in the second or third round, depending upon how that goes. Tristan Gray is another person that we like and OSA does not. So anything that we like and OSA doesn't, we like a lot. So we'll be using our head scout's advantages, hopefully very, very well. And yeah, we'll cover all of that in our next episode. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later.